Today we are going to make a little optical illusion using some heart shapes and some block letters. Now I'm going to start using my marker at the very beginning, but as always, if you'd like to start with a pencil and then trace and erase to make sure you have your drawing the way you want it to look, that's a great plan. But the Sharpie makes it a little bit easier for you to see it from far away. So I'm going to just make some big letters. I'm going to write the word love and then add a few little hearts. So to make a block letter, sometimes if you start with just a single line first and then trace around it nice and big, you can. But I'm going to show you how to make the word love using those simple shapes. So first, we're going to start by making a slightly straight long line here. And then we're going to come down on the bottom like a letter L, obviously, because that's the beginning. And then we're going to make two little short lines at the end coming out the side. 1 and 2. Then we're going to make a little baby L in the middle like this. 1, 2. Then I'm going to make my O a big huge oval that's kind of tucked inside here like this. So an oval, as we know, is a little skinnier, kind of like a squished circle, looks more like a pancake. And then we're going to make the letter V. And for my letter V, I'm going to come down with a diagonal line, come down with another diagonal line, and meet those two lines together. And then again, just like we made those short little edges here, we're going to do the short edges again at the top. 1, 2, and a little baby V on the inside. Boop, down like a little arrow. Then the last part is our letter E, which we're going to make just as tall as the letter L. So we're going to come this way, super duper tall. And then I'm going to start just at the top here, making my line come across at the bottom, and then here's my little trick to get all my big block letter E's. We're going to make, just like we had this same thick kind of line here, we've got one from the top, one from the bottom, and then let's float one in the middle, kind of like a dashed line. And now all we need to do is make a part of a rectangle. So I'm going to follow my line parallel with the top of my E, come down, and come over. Good, and then we do the same thing down here on the bottom. Over, down, and touch. Now we've got a big, huge block letter of the word love. I'm also going to add a few little hearts in the background, so I'll just do those heart shapes. Remember, they're kind of like an upside down letter J, so there's a bump on the top, and it comes back into a point. Again, I'm going to do one over here with a bump on the top, and it comes down. You can also make a heart by practicing the letter M like this, kind of a curvy letter M, or like those little M birds, and then come down with a letter V at the bottom. That's another way to practice a heart too, if you want to try that way. Okay, a little M and a V at the bottom. So you can try it whichever way makes sense for you as the artist. Now that I have everything drawn, I'm going to turn this into an optical illusion. Now, if you hear the words optical illusion, you can break those down to realize that basically just means a trick of the eye. Optical means we're referring to the eye or the optics. Illusion is a trick. So when we make an optical illusion, it makes your eye kind of trick that you're seeing something you're not. Now, you could totally stop and color this in if you'd like to, but let me show you how we're going to turn this into the illusion. Basically, we're going to start with a line, and we're going to make one right across the top here, and try as best you can to make that parallel with the edge of your paper. That means these two lines, if they continued, this line right here and this line right here that's made from Sharpie, those two lines would never meet because they are right exactly in line with each other. That's what it means to be parallel. So now I'm going to start here a little bit lower, and when I hit my heart or hit my letters, I'm going to then change it to be kind of a rainbow line. So I come up for my rainbow, up for my rainbow, and then I switch back to my parallel line, just like this. Curve across, and done. Now, you could go all the way off the edge of your paper, kind of like this. I was just starting in the middle for a little bit of ease. But of course, you can pick if you'd like to have it continue off the edge or stop right where it is. So again, if I continue here, I'm going to go all the way across with that nice straight parallel line. Then I hit my heart or my letter, so I'm going to turn it into a rainbow line, and then come across. That's kind of a curved organic line. Again, curve, because I hit the inside of the heart, and then come back straight. Now, if I come back down here for my letters, every time I hit my letter, I'm going to do the same thing. Curve, straight, curve, straight. straight. And I keep continuing that until I've finished my whole paper with this little optical illusion. Now notice some of my curves change how big they are depending on how big the space is. This was a little curved rainbow line. This was a big one because I needed to go across a little bit wider. So I'll come across again, do my curve, come across, do my curve, and keep going. Now this is going to take me just a little while to set up, so this lesson is slightly more complicated or time consuming at the very beginning. So I'm going to fast forward this for you to see what it looks like at the end. But once you get it done, then all you have to do is color, and that optical illusion comes to life. So I'm going to finish my straight and my curved lines all the way down my optical illusion. Now that you have everything drawn and you're really getting that optical illusion with your rainbow lines inside your letters and your hearts, it is time to color. Now, as you color, there are a few ways you can do it. You can just follow along your line with some coloring tools like maybe markers or colored pencils or crayons and just color everything in solidly, as long as you're filling the same row in the same color. So I could go like this and do a straight solid line and then a color and a color and a color and just go all the way across. But if you want to continue your trick a little bit, your optical illusion, you can also add some value. Now, as you remember in art, value is the difference between the lightness and the darkness of something. So let's say I show you on the back. Right here, you can kind of see my O sort of through it. So instead of me just coloring it all solidly in with crayon, I can actually press hard with my crayon right near the edge of my O and then fade to be more of a whisper with my crayon near the outside. And then as I come to the outside edge here again on my O, I can come a little bit darker. So I'm sort of leaving this little fade here, and then those parts that are right by the edge of my letter are going to be the darkest, and the parts that are around the outside are going to be a little bit lighter. So I know this is a little tricky to see because it's on the back, but notice how my darkest value, my hardest pressure is right here. It fades and then it comes back dark on the edge of the O. So if you want to try doing that, you totally can. Another edit that you could do is just making, if let's say you only have markers, you could do solid in the background and then maybe pick a pattern with the same color on the inside. So I think I'm going to try a few different ways just to show you the two options. Maybe I'll make the top half with markers so you can see what that looks like, and the bottom half with crayons doing that fade with our value. So today is going to be kind of a test to show you which options you have to color. Detail that you can add for a little bit more shadow, especially if you did the marker trick and not the crayon trick, is to add a little shadow just to one side of your letters and your hearts. So I'm using a black crayon here, and I'm just going to go over the top right next to my Sharpie line and start with a nice dark edge, and then just fade a little bit to that whisper again. So I'm really trying to use my pressure as I work to add a little bit of value. Remember that difference between the lightness and darkness of something. So now I'm going to go on the bottom here again with a nice dark line and then fade that to a whisper. If you have even just a regular pencil, you could do this little trick. If you have some black oil pastels, you can do this trick. There's lots of ways to use the tools that you have to create this optical illusion. So now I'm just going on the left here of my heart, again nice and dark with my black, and then fade to a whisper. Same thing with the V, nice and dark next to that edge as if to create a little shadow to really make that pop up off my paper, and then fade. So you can see the difference between the crayon kind of version, which has this sort of nice value along these edges, and the part here that is our markers, which is nice and bold, but has less of that fading value. And I chose to do some parallel lines inside the inside of my letters and my hearts just to add some variety and a little bit of difference and change for the viewer, the person looking at my art, to see when I create my creation. So I'm going to finish my shadow here, and you can do the shadows on any parts or any side. Like I just chose the left side of my heart as if my light source was coming from here, or the left side of my letters, and then had the other side be nice and bright. So sometimes when you're adding a shadow to something, just think about where your light source would be coming from or where the light would be shining from, and then the shadow is on the opposite side. So I'm going to finish doing my little heart shadows here, and then I should be just about done. So just like that, you've got an optical illusion to help you practice some values, some neat coloring, and your block letters. We'll see you next time.